Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Today we will be kicking off our 5th traffic webinar on how to leverage the full potential of your PTV Visum software with maps and data. I would like to remind you to follow our LinkedIn page, PTV Group IMEA, to learn more about our upcoming webinars, online trainings, offerings, and more. During the webinar, we will be pushing out poll surveys and we kindly ask you to participate. Allow me to introduce your PTV team today for this webinar. Our main presenter will be Karen. Karen's our product manager and expert for traffic data in PTV. Her focus is on the development and provision of data product based on measured movement data from commercial sources such as HERE, TomTom, Inbrex, and others for the use in transportation modeling. I would like to also introduce Boleslav, our principal solution architect for modeling at PTV Group, with more than 15 years of industry experience in transport planning and forecasting. Boleslav is responsible for technical business development and innovation in Middle East, India, and Africa. He had played a key role in PTV Group's expansion in the region. He also leads knowledge expansion and training programs for PTV Software Suite. And myself, your moderator, Majd. Before I hand it over to the speakers, I would like to encourage you to type in any questions you have in the question box during the presentation, and we will address as much as possible in the dedicated Q&A session. A link of today's recording for the webinar will be sent in a follow-up email by tomorrow. With this, I would like to hand it over to you, Boleslav.
Yeah, thank you, Majd. Hello, everyone. We are really happy to welcome you on our webinar. And today we want to speak about a bit of reimagining of PTV Visum, not in the way how we know it already, but we will try to give some new flavor that you maybe already know, but for most of us, I'm pretty sure it will be quite new. And we are going to speak about different possibilities, how to use available big data sources and some information feeds together with PTV Visum software in your daily works and on your daily projects. But prior to going into diving into the presentation, I would like to say that from our regional perspective, we faced a lot of different challenges in building models, calibrating them, or just analyzing the information about this or that transportation system. And we found ourselves in a position that data availability is the core in most of the projects, and that is why PTV is working in the direction of data provision. We are supporting our clients not only by the development of the software, but also with the data sets that can work in very comprehensive environments such as urban areas of the most advanced cities and up to the areas where data availability can be a problem in general. The last thing that I would like to say before I will hand over to Karin is we would actually like to get a bit of an introduction from your side to tailor our comments that we're going to give during the webinar. And for that purpose, I want to ask you one question, which you will see now on the screen. So we would like to understand what is your designation, and if you can kindly provide this information to us, our further presentation and comments to the presentation that we will generate during the webinar will be more useful specifically for you. We will give a bit of a time, around maybe a minute, for you to allow to vote. Yeah, and as I can see already out of the results, most of the audience is from transport modeling background, mainly transport modelers and managers, as well as the traffic engineers. Yeah, we got almost all the responses, so I think the picture is quite representative. So Karin, today we are speaking to majority of the transport modelers and managers who are interested in utilizing PTV software, PTV Visum, together with the data. I think that most of the use cases will address their interests, and hopefully we will provide something really interesting and unique. We'll see. So thank you very much for your responses, and Karin, I would like to hand over to you now.
Yes, thank you, Boleslav, and hello everybody to this overview on data. Thank you, Boleslav, for and March for introduction and the overview. Yeah, transport modeling, that's also the background where I come from. And so I hope that we can give you really great insights into what we are offering from a data point of view. So probably all of you know PTV as a software company, but maybe you don't know that we are also have a long tradition in data as well. So since more than 15 years now, we are providing our customers worldwide with data ready to use in PTV Visum format, especially navigation maps. That was our starting point. Comprehensive floating car data has become available in the last decade, and our customers use it for are using it in various use cases. So today we would like to give you some insights in that data. As I already said, network modeling and spatial analysis is the first topic. Before we take a look, or after that, we will take a look into the various possibilities that floating car data is giving us. As an example, we will take a look at historical speed data and that use case in model validation and bottleneck analysis. Moreover, we will see what is possible now with empirical OD data. Network data from navigation providers like HERE and TomTom. Yeah, we have been using that, as I already said, for like 15 years now, and it has become more and more detailed in the already since a lot of years. We are seeing almost a complete coverage in most of the countries worldwide, and also in your area. So in the Middle East area, we have a full coverage, and in Africa, it depends on the country, and we can, but we can always have a look into the data before we make it available for our customers. So navigation maps, most of people know them from the car navigation, but we've been using it also in our logistics software since very long time, and then we've also found a way to kind of translate the data into a Visum format. So what you see here on the screen is the actual network in Visum, and you can see that you can edit also every link that is there. So you can see that the links have also lots of attributes, and of course the network is routable. You can see that links can have different length, and we see a classification in functional road classes. You can also see from the display that it has attributes showing you which kind of link you see. So if it's more motorway or arterial roads, and so on and so on. This data, as I already said, is available for almost all countries, but we can provide you also with the dedicated region you're looking for. So if it's one city, one region, one area, one country, it's possible to get this customized for you. And you only have to give us an idea of what you're looking for, and we will provide you with that specific area. That's really very useful for modeling, because you have then a starting point and don't have to like find other sources or do manual work on that part of the modeling. And it's not only the street network that comes with the navigation map, but it has also land use information. So as you can see, we have built up areas here. We have like parks, water, forest, green areas, every kind of like land use information that you can imagine. Also building footprints available. And when you go more into detail, you will see that there's a lot of points of interest as well. So this might be like restaurants, shopping centers, also tiny little shops, cafes, bars, everything where people move to is available. Retailers, car manufacturers, anything that you can imagine is there. So that's also quite interesting for modeling, that you can find out what might be destinations where people are going, also what might be origins of their trips. What is rather new now is that we are also offering intersection details in some areas. That is something specific where we would have to talk a little bit longer about what is possible and find out the availability. But this gives you then more insights into the number of lanes inside intersections. So normally every link comes also with a number of lane, but inside the intersections, it's also interesting to see how many lanes are turning right, how many are turning left, how are they connected with each other, how is the traffic actually going on that intersection. That might be an interesting information also for simulation-based assignment, or as well for export of the data into Visum. So what you see here is a little preview the little Visum preview window showing one intersection. So yes, network modeling is, I guess, something very basic for every kind of modeling topic, and being able to start with these detailed maps, I guess, might be interesting for most of you. Now we are.
Can I just chip in with a question here? As far as these networks, they can be provided in different formats. I mean, in terms of the levels of detail, yeah?
Well, we always provide the map data in the Visum version file.
Yeah, I mean, the level of detail of the network itself. It can be either a major network only related to like high-level network, or it can be a.
Yes, it can be a main road network, or it can be a detailed network. So in the main road network, you will see the first 4 functional road classes, so from motorways and arterial roads and so on. You will not see every tiny little road and every, I don't know, way that is there just for bikes and foot, for walking and so on.
Okay.
And these are the 2 flavors that we have for maps. It's like main roads, or it's like complete map. That, of course, that comes also with different prices. It's also possible to combine the 2, so to have a main road network for a whole region, and then go into a city and have all details there. That's also possible, because we will not change the nodes when we deliver the main roads. We will keep every tiny little element. We will just simply delete everything that is not part of the main road, but is more detailed. So you can always enter details in any area that you want, because the nodes are still there and everything is still connected.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for interruption.
No, that was fine, thank you. Okay, what is also available from our providers directly, that is historical speed data in form of speed profiles. So what we see here is an average over the last year of the speed measured on a link in a certain hour, in all the hours of the day, or here in 15 minutes intervals. So that is then linked to every link element in the road network, that you have this average speed per weekday and per time of day. That is an easy way to get an understanding of the actual traffic situation in the area that you're looking for. And it can help you in model calibration, because you can calculate also skim matrices done based on the speed that is coming from that speed profiles. So this will also come with in Visum format, and will just simply be part of the attributes of every link. Then there's something that is more detailed, because sometimes the average is just simply not enough. You want to know more about the speed measured on the roads in detail. And you want to know it maybe for an individual time, so individual dates, individual areas, and individual time intervals. So maybe for peak hours that you want to define in your area. And this is also possible since like more than 10 years now, as well from HERE as from TomTom, like in this example. And yeah, they're having a huge database of floating car data that they fill every day with new data. And what we are offering is to prepare also this kind of data for the use directly in Visum. So you don't have to care about how this works. When you come to us, you will we will consult you on what is possible, what is also what makes sense in your with your question that you want to answer, or with your use case. And then together we will find the right dates and time intervals to analyze for you. And together with the map, you will then get a set of attribute files with a lot of information. For example, the speed that was measured in that time interval in percentiles. So like 5%, 10%, 15% slowest vehicles that have been measured in that period of time. Also, some very helpful information is how many vehicles have been measured in that time interval. So that gives you not only an idea of the quality of that data, because you can say, okay, here I have this value is based on the speed value is based on the measurement of like 300 or 3,000 vehicles that have passed this link. But it can also help you a little bit in in finding out about the volumes that are typically there. Of course, it's not that easy to judge from the measurement to the real volume, but if you have a lot of count data as well, then it can be a starting point for validation and calibration also of your model. So what you see here is also one example of this historical speed data product that we can offer, and you can see that it really also goes down into the lower road classes. So it's more valuable, of course, on the interior roads, but you can see that it is also there in the lower road classes. And here you are really very flexible, and you can do individual selections. You can have it, let's say, for every hour of the day, or for every 50 minutes of the day, or for a quarter of the hour, and then you can see how traffic is moving or not moving because it's congested in your area. And this can be very helpful. Also to find out where are the bottlenecks in your network, but also when it comes to model calibration, to see, is the speed that my model produces in the end, is that something that reflects the real situation in the peak hour in that area? So I guess that can be very interesting for a lot of tasks. We have access to the data from TomTom and HERE worldwide, so we can also see a little bit in advance, and before you really order the data from us, what it will be like, and we can also recommend to maybe use more a wider base, or to really have very limited time intervals and so on. Also, that is the case for also the network data as well as the speed data. We are always happy to provide you with a sample of the data so that you can see how technically it looks like, what attributes are inside the data, and how you can also use the information in your model. So we will have we can always provide you with a sample of data from your region that will be like only a very small area, but we always try to find a way to make this possible for you. What is maybe very interesting is what insights we can have into the traffic situations with that floating car data. Here I have used the TomTom website this morning to analyze, or to show you how the congestion evaluated was during this year, and you can very easily see the COVID-19 effects on traffic congestion here in this example for Abu Dhabi, because you can see heavy congestion in the first weeks of the year 2020, and then you can see the effects of the COVID-19 restrictions and the more severe restrictions as well. And you can also see that traffic is coming back on the roads, but this is not comparable to what we normally see on the road. So we all like see and feel that, but to make it really visible is something different, I guess. And if you intend to use this data for your modeling purposes, then yeah, we can from these kind of analysis, we can also choose the best time intervals or dates for the analysis. Yeah, because also before after analysis, then we can really help you in choosing the right times and dates. I already talked about bottleneck analysis. Here's one example, more from our region, so this is Birmingham. And you can find information also about data analytics with PTV software on our website. Yeah, this is quite interesting because we analyzed one route and found out how the traffic is, yeah, how the traffic situation is like during one day, yeah, on this road stretch, and you can see that there's more congestion in the afternoon than it is in the morning, and yeah, these are also very interesting insights. That is even more sophisticated and needs more effort than what we've seen before, but it might be interesting as well. So if you're interested more in this, please let us know, and we will we can have a call or a chat on that. So what use cases are there for floating car data? This is there's really a lot that you can do with it. This is only a selection of use cases. We've talked about bottleneck analysis, so you can really detect the regularly congested areas in your network and find out with which measures you might change the situation there. Yeah, also this can be a base for infrastructural or planning measures to do some network optimization. I already mentioned before and after analysis as well, so you can observe the impacts of traffic planning measures on traffic flows with historical data. So even after implementing new infrastructure, because we have data that reaches back several years. So it's not only months, it's years. What else? So location studies can be interesting. So accessibility analysis. So determine the real access time to a selected location, like central cities, airports, stadiums, for every selected time of day and weekday. So, for example, if you want to recommend when to start for reaching your airport for the flight you want to take, and so on and so on. But also for model validation, it can be interesting to do accessibility analysis. Yeah, what else? Location studies and site analysis. If you want to determine ideal locations of production sites, warehouses and stores, that is a different topic. It's maybe not so interesting for transport modelers, but this can also be possible with floating car data. Entering more the traffic modeling side again. So refining your model speeds or volume delay functions and validate your model results. That is a very common use case for floating car data. We haven't talked about traffic management today, and it's also a different topic, but floating car data can also be, or is also available in real time. But that's maybe in a different webinar one day we can show you what is possible there. We are often asked if we can also provide our customers with empirical origin destination data. And yeah, here we always want to highlight the different, the two big different sources for empirical data, and highlight the advantages and disadvantages. So on the one hand, we have the GPS tracks, like they are coming from the floating car data, and on the other side we have that floating phone data base, and we really have to make a difference between the two. The advantages of the GPS tracks are that this is they have a high accurate, or it's possible to really localize the cars or the people very accurate, and it has a high update frequency. So normally we have a position every second or every 2 seconds out of these data sources. The disadvantage, of course, is that the sample size for OD is rather low. It's very fine for every kind of speed analysis, and for bottleneck analysis, that's fine. But for origin destination analysis, a sample size of between 5 and 20% of all cars on the road is rather low. And as I already said, cars or trucks on the road, so we only measure parts of the traffic happening in our cities, because we can't see the buses, we can't see the tramways, we don't see people walking. This only, the GPS tracks are almost only coming out of cars and trucks and vans, and so we only see parts of the movement of people. When it comes to cell phone data, we have other advantages. On the one hand, we have the high sample size. Yeah, we often talk about like 30% of all users, of all people in the region that we see in from one cell phone provider. Sometimes we even get user information because we know, or that the provider knows from the customer data, which age group, for example, the owner of the phone has. And so this gives us advantages in modeling. But the disadvantages are also there, and we have to mention them. There's only a very rough localization of the phones, because we only see them in the cells and not on the road directly. And it's difficult to really detect movements. It's only that we see that the phone has appeared here, and the next time it has appeared somewhere else. And we have to find out where have people really been moving, so which road and so on. So this is not so easy. But anyway, we can use the origin destination data from these empirical sources for validation of an existing matrix compared to our model results. We can also use it for model calibration. So we can improve the modeled matrix with the empirical data. We can also create new matrices out of these empirical data without doing a full demand modeling. That's for sure an advantage, or can be an advantage. What is difficult from the cell phone data is the route analysis. This is only possible with the GPS-based data. So this is a rather, let me say, rather new topic. And yeah, our focus is really on network and speed data. So yeah, here we feel that we have a lot of experience and we can help you very easily, and that the data is really also very reliable. So the origin destination data is rather a new topic and has to be always has to be analyzed in advance if it makes sense in your tasks in modeling in your projects. Yeah, well, we've been going through a lot of data topics today. I hope I haven't raised more questions than I give information to you. I would say we will now open the question and answer sessions as long as Olislav has no other things to add or.
Yeah, thank you, Karin. That was a really brief summary. This topic can be elaborated for way longer sessions, but I think I managed to capture most of the use cases that we face almost on a daily basis working with and some of them are pretty common, such as network, for example, and others are pretty new, such as OD data. And yeah, we would be really interested to have some follow-up discussions to see what's actually your opinion on the use cases that will be more interesting for you. And I would like to now ask for a couple of more questions to the audience about our topic before we will shift to QA session. And actually, it would be quite interesting to know if you already had experience in using commercial transportation-related data sources in your projects, and yeah, that's something which is always a topic for a discussion with almost any client, because one of the most typical questions that is coming: why do we need to actually buy something if there is a lot of open source information? However, there are advantages and disadvantages for both approaches depending on the use case. Yeah, actually, pretty interesting result out of this question. I see that it's almost a tie. So half of the audience been using commercial data already and is familiar with it. Okay, thank you for this answer. And then I would like to ask one more question, which is actually related to the topic of our discussion today, and this is about the use cases. So which ones do you think are most interesting for you? We covered, I would say, most of them. Yeah, so or maybe you can come up with some other interesting use case that was not covered in this presentation. Yeah, so what I see out of the results is that network development is almost out of the question. Everyone seems to know where to take it from, which is pretty evident and makes sense. We are working with maps for quite a while, but just to recap on what Karin said about the network development, there are multiple opportunities how this task can be approached. One of them is to use whatever is available as part of the project or from open source, or to try to seek for some consistent renewable data set. So there are multiple ways here. Land use and spatial analysis seems to be also underestimated. Here, don't know what is the reason for that. it's a topic on its own for a separate webinar, how this can be addressed. Yeah, and the most interest in this list of use cases is on the transport model calibration, and this is what Karin was describing. Well, talking about the floating car data and the speed information, and the OD data as well. Even though it's not straightforward in terms of assessment, but it can be pretty useful for certain aspects of the model development. Okay, thank you very much for these answers. And now I think we can go into questions and answers. We have not too many of them right now, but feel free to ask them. And Majd, I would like to ask you to help us on the Q&A session.
Yes, thank you so much, Boleslav. I actually encourage every one of you, if you have any question, just to type it in the question box. We currently have one question from Rian, which says, how does the TomTom obtain travel data?
Yeah, okay. I haven't talked about that in my presentation, so I can do it now. Yeah, or most of you might know the TomTom navigation systems. Let it be like a mobile one or an in-dash navigation system. And yeah, these systems are always, well, if you opt in, they are tracking where you're driving, and this is then yeah, this then goes into the big database of TomTom. That is not the only source. There's also app data, and there's also fleet data, and yeah, TomTom is not only using their own data, but they are also working together with local providers. And so this is yeah, a full yeah, there are various sources, and they will all be put together. They also there's also quality management on that. Yeah, and the same is the case also for HERE. So it's not only for TomTom; it's also available from HERE, and that goes also into the HERE database in the same way. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you, Karen. We have another question that says, what is available varies by country, Saudi Arabia in particular, interest for me?
Yes, I would like to, I mean, we talked about these detailed regional questions before, or when we were preparing the webinar, and we agreed that we will, we will do follow-ups with you whenever you have questions. We will come back to you directly, because I can't answer these questions now in the webinar. What is available in which country, which region, and so on. We know about that, of course, but we would like to do it in a one-by-one discussion. But I can tell you that network data and also floating car data is available in the Middle East area, and also in parts of Africa.
Okay, thank you, Karen. I think this is it for the questions. Please feel free to type in any questions you have in the question box. Yes, here's another question which says, what is the wireless that PTV would really recommend to the maps providers to have in the next 5 years? Map contents, special maps contents.
Yeah, our wish list. Our wish list would be to have more detailed maps, not from the coverage point of view, because coverage is available. I mean, is very widely available everywhere. But to have more information on the actual number of lanes in very detailed way, for example, in intersections. Also about the width of lanes and the conditions of the lanes. And we are already talking about, since a few, 2 or 3 years, we're talking about HD maps, so high detailed maps for autonomous driving. That is something the providers are working on, of course, because that's I think a global trend also. So that's really something that also customers, not only in transport modeling but also from automotive, are looking for. So yeah, more details. Would be what we are looking for.
Right. I think that's it for the questions. I can't see any more. Okay, there is another one, which says, so leveraging, it's from the same person, Sat. So leveraging the PTV Visum means having more products, use cases in the near future?
Well, it means to use also PTV Visum for more different use cases than before, and also to make it easier to do modeling, to make it faster, to make it to make it possible also for maybe not experts, but on a higher level, to make it easier to also to publish results and so on and so on. There are a lot of there will be also a lot of innovation around Visum coming. Today we've been focusing more on the data part, so to make your Visum more
Right.
with more detail, so that you don't have to start from zero, but that you have already a lot of information there to use it also as a GIS and so on and so on.
Okay.
Just to add to that, before we'll move to the next one, I would say that the answer to this question is in the following. Visum is not necessarily a demand model, as many people tend to think. If we think about Visum as about a software package, in the beginning it's a GIS. So there is a lot of possibilities to assess the data even before starting the model development. For example, the speed data analysis and bottlenecks identification, land use data assessment, desired line diagrams out of the origin destination data. All these can be obtained just by opening the software, loading the data set, and looking at it. So there are plenty of capabilities how Visum can be applied with different types of data. We have some of them can be still added, and we have a lot to do on that. But this is the type of a discussion that we would like to have with all of you, maybe later on the follow-ups, to see what can be most interesting for you. Maybe we can give an answer straight away, or continue working together on that answer to bring some extra capabilities to our software and for your benefits.
Yeah, also everything that has a coordinate is always an answer that I give. Everything that has a coordinate can be entered into Visum.
Yeah.
It can be a node or a point of interest or whatever. It can also be like accident data. As long as it has an X and Y coordinate, it can be put together with other data, and there can be a lot of information that you can put together and that you can analyze then.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the next question. It says, highway capacity and speed is affected by on-street parking. Anyway, is there any way to get an information about this?
Yeah, that's not so easy.
Yes, it requires some thinking. I would say overlapping with the parking capacity, there is a possibility to come up with some KPI, but yeah, it will require some extra data sets. We cannot just use speed information for that.
Yeah, maybe, I mean, we also have the aerial images in the background that can, of course, help to see if there's a lot of parking cars on streets. Yeah, but it's not that easy. That's right. I mean, even in the road in front of the PTV headquarters building, there used to be a parking, on-site parking, and they moved that away. And I don't know how we will react in our models then. I mean, this also modeling has always to do also with local insights.
Yeah, but just one comment to this question also that I want to give. It's not really about parking, but I think it's quite a similar case. For example, a year ago approximately, we were using speed data to replace journey time surveys for one of the projects. And we did the replacement of the 90% of routes out of the surveys. The project was still using some of them to benchmark the data, provided the historical speed data, but it helped to save time and money on the surveys. So I think addressing the parking impact, there can be some kind of a survey that can be expanded with the support of the speed data. And
also
adding value as an expansion of the data set from the survey.
Yeah, also survey data is is always based only on a very short time. I mean, you can't do surveys over a month or two. So that is, you pick one day or 2 days and do a survey, and there might be something happening that you haven't foreseen, and that brings all your results to I don't know, to have a lot of mistakes in it, because the day which you choose was simply not typical. Something happened. Let's say there was a bus breakdown and people couldn't drive with the bus but had to take their car. So then the traffic conditions will be different on that typical day or in that specific day. So this is also an advantage of the data, that you can choose a more wider base.
Okay, we can move to the last question, which says, does the provided data present any figure about traffic volumes or traffic car composition?
Well, traffic volumes, that is something people always want to have from us, and unfortunately we can't measure all the cars on the road. That's only possible in certain locations with count with measurements at one location, but it's not possible throughout the whole network. We only have an idea of what is going on with the sample size that comes with the speed data, but then we would have to find out how many, which part of the traffic has been measured by the provider, and so we still need count data. So traffic volumes, that is that will still be on our wish list, but as we are all free to drive where we want and when we want, and we don't have to say, now I'm now I will, am I allowed to drive? So there's nothing that really measures that I move. And I guess that's also good that, yeah, that we don't know too much about the movement of people, because that, yeah, is our freedom also. But yeah, so traffic volumes, real traffic volumes, is not available except from models, and then yeah, it's not real anymore. Yeah, often asked, but not so easy to answer.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why we are doing modeling.
Yeah, but still, it's not necessarily a no answer here, because there are different possibilities how, again, you can expand your account information by using speed data. Because what is actually speed? Speed can be converted to volumes via volume delay functions. So if you have in your model some consideration of the volume delay function and it rated, then for congested links where this function is actually working and taking an impact, there can be a bit more precise estimation of what kind of volume can be there. And in certain specific cases for peak periods, it can support expansion of the data sets. But we didn't have too much of this type of use cases. This methodology was applied on a couple of projects. It's not very common. And yeah, as Karin said, the volume as a plain KPI for the whole network would be quite good to have, but it's really a wish list.
Yep.
All right. I think we're done from the Q&A session, and we are wrapping it up. Thank you very much. It was a great presentation, a great Q&A session, great responses from you, Karin and Bolislav. Thank you very much. And thank you everyone for attending. Just a reminder, a link with the recording will be circulated for all attendees, so you'll be able to go back to the session and listen to it again. In case you have any further questions, please contact us on sales.imea@ptvgroup.com. Thank you for joining, and looking forward to seeing you next time. Thank you.